In my neighborhood, we all know about all the wonderful cave systems that we have. Well, we want to tell this story about Floyd Collins, if you don't know it already. I want to welcome David Foster, who is here, President, CEO of American Cave Conservation Association. We do have wonderful cave systems here in Kentucky.
We have the longest caves in the world. And one of the first people that became famous exploring those caves was a fellow named Floyd Collins. And when he became trapped back in 1925, it became one of the biggest news stories of the decade.
And that's so sad that he became trapped. He was trying to explore the Sand Cave, that's near Mammoth Cave. And was it likely that people get trapped in caves during that time? Like, what happened?
Well, Floyd, he was a very good caver. He went in some difficult places, and Sand Cave was a very tiny little cave. But see, Floyd's family owned what was called Crystal Cave, which was a show cave that he took tourists in. But his cave was so far down the beaten path that you had to go past the Mammoth Cave and a lot of other cave entrances to get to his cave. But Floyd knew that the caves were very lengthy, and so he was trying to find a new way into his cave, which is why he was down in that cave in very, very tight passages. And unfortunately, he became trapped and lost his life.
Yeah, by the time they found him, I guess he had starved to death.
He was there for 17 days, and they tried to get him food initially, and then the parts of the cave collapsed, and nobody could get to him. But people listened to this story on the radio every night for 17 days, waiting to hear whether Floyd would get out or not.
I mean, when I think about that, it literally just makes my stomach turn, because I cannot even imagine what it would feel like to be trapped in there. This is the 100th anniversary.
Yes, of the trapping. There were books written about it, movies. There was a hit record. One of the first million-selling country records was The Ballad of Floyd Collins. And so it was a very famous story. A lot of people knew about Floyd. And you can come down to cave country and Hidden River Cave, where I work, or Mammoth Cave. We have the American Cave Museum. And you can follow in some of Floyd's footsteps, but you don't have to get in any tight places.
Yeah, I am claustrophobic, so I cannot even imagine. I'm looking at all of the pictures now. Is this part of the rescue that they are trying to do?
That's during the rescue in 1925, yes.
So many people trying to help him. Oh,
there were hundreds of people out there. It was like a carnival atmosphere. Everybody was flocking to see what was going on. They were selling hamburgers and.
Oh my! I don't think I like that.
It went on for a long time. Yeah, it was just a huge rescue, and unsuccessful, unfortunately. But Floyd became very famous in his death, and. It's still pretty well known. This is some exhibits from some of the American Cave Museum and Horse Cave, and so if you want to learn more about Floyd, come see us. We're open every day.
And when we say the Kentucky Cave Wars, what is that, and what did it do for Mammoth Cave?
Well, when part of Floyd's entrapment was related to this competition for the cave business, because there were only so many tourists and there were a bunch of caves.
Everybody wanted their people to come to their cave.
So they called that the Kentucky Cave Wars. So Floyd kind of lost his life fighting the Kentucky Cave Wars, trying to find a new entrance to his cave, trying to find a better way to attract the tourists. But it really wasn't a war. There wasn't any shooting. It was more of a competitive war, because everybody that had a cave in the Depression, it was like having a gold mine. People would pay you money to go see the cave. And that was a lot easier than tobacco farming.
Right, I can imagine. That was hard work.
Yeah.
So people can still go to Mammoth Cave and some of the other caves. Talk about that as a tourist, what we can do.
Well, I work at the American Cave Museum and Hidden River Cave. We're a private nonprofit cave in the town of Horse Cave. There are also half a dozen other caves. There's Mammoth Cave, there's Diamond Caverns, there's Crystal Onyx, there's Onyx Cave. There's a lot of caves, and they're open. Most of them are open year-round. Many of them open for spring break, which is just a few weeks from now. And so you can come and you can walk on a nice lighted pathway through big wide open spaces and not necessarily get into the kind of thing that Floyd got into. You can also take, at our cave, you can take an off-trail adventure, and we'll get you muddy and put you in tight passageways. I can see you're excited about that.
Yeah, no tight passageways for me. I mean, even with Mammoth Cave, you know how they have that big, expansive opening. I'm just like, okay, I'll look at it from here because I know you're going inside there. You can even take a boat in some places,
Yes,
right? Can you still do that?
Yes, Lost River Cave has a boat ride, and so there's just all kinds of caving adventures that you can take. You can take some of the best caving adventures in the world right here in central Kentucky.
Are there caves, do you think, that are still unexplored?
Absolutely. In fact, most of my crew are all cave explorers. They go on their own time. They go into Hidden River Cave and explore. And we found a half a mile of new passage last summer within 15 minutes of the entrance, stuff that nobody knew was there. They pushed into a tight hole and found a new opening and continued. So we're still continuing to explore. Parts of Mammoth Cave are still, they're finding new discoveries. It's just every year. This is the Mount Everest of caving. It's the longest cave in the world, and there's a lot more to be discovered.
Safer now, though, than it was 100 years ago.
Well, we have better equipment now, and lot higher tech, lights and things in these carbide lanterns, or maybe the old lantern that Floyd would have gone through the cave with. So certainly it is safer.
All right. Everybody can go check out the wonderful caves that are right here in Kentucky. Hidden River Cave, the American Cave Museum.
Yes.
And it is open when?
We're open 7 days a week,
Oh, how
year-round.
wonderful. There you go.
Yes.
Hidden River Cave and the American Cave Museum right on East Main Street. And it's in Horse Cave, Kentucky. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It is something that's part of our history here in Kentucky.